Thank you, Mr Speaker. It's a privilege to open today's debate and to present to the House the amendments tabled in my name, a number of which relate to issues I promised to return to when they were raised in committee. All amendments in my name have been drafted with technical advice and expertise from civil servants from the Department of Health and Social Care and the Ministry of Justice, along with a brilliant Government Legal Department and Office of Parliamentary Counsel, in order to make the bill workable and to give coherence to the statute book, as confirmed by the Minister for Care and the Minister for Courts and Legal Services in their recent letter to MPs. Some are technical and drafting amendments, and all are there to strengthen the bill. So I hope colleagues will be able to support these amendments wherever they stand on the principle of assisted dying. I know there are many colleagues who wish to speak today, so I will endeavour to speak with brevity, firstly to the new clauses in my name. Starting with new clause 13. Mr Speaker, this important new clause and related amendments create a regulatory framework and safeguards around the approved substances referred to in the bill, by imposing a duty to make regulations about those substances and a power to make regulations about devices for use in connection with their self-administration. Amendment 72 provides that the regulations relating to approved substances are subject to the affirmative procedure, meaning they must be laid before Parliament and approved by resolution of both houses, providing important parliamentary oversight. Mr Speaker, these amendments ensure that the substances used in assisted dying are subject to a specific and appropriate regulatory regime.
The member take an intervention?
I will.
Patricia Ferguson.
Thank you, Mr Speaker. I'm genuinely looking for clarification. As a former Cabinet Minister in the Scottish Government, I jealously guard the Devolution settlement. And I just wonder how the extension of some of these clauses to include Scotland will be interpreted. And I'd like to know what conversations have taken place between the member in charge and Scotland's Lord Advocate, and also with the Scottish Government.
Thank you, Mr Speaker. I thank you for that intervention. I've taken legal advice from government officials to ensure that devolution is respected at every stage in proceedings. So where legislation does need to be amended that affects other jurisdictions, those conversations have already started and will indeed continue. And no, I'm going to make some progress if that's okay. So in terms of the substances that would be used, there would not be new substances, Mr Speaker. As we know, assisted dying is available in many other jurisdictions, and there are substances which have been used safely and in some cases for many years. Their safety and efficacy has been proven around the world, but they do need to be treated differently, which is the purpose of new clause 13. I'm going to make some progress, thank you. It's however most likely that these products are already licensed for other purposes, and they could well be regulated through the MHRA and within the human medicine regulations for the purpose of the bill. But it's important that time is given. I will give way.
Thank the Honourable Lady for giving way. As an ODP with more than 20 years' experience, I want to emphasise that controlling and administering drugs is already a really key part of every healthcare professional's practice. Medicines management is front and centre of everything we do when we're handling drugs. So does she agree with me that the safeguards added to this bill, along with the existing frameworks, are more than adequate to deal with these?
I thank her for that intervention, and I thank her for sharing her expertise, and along with other colleagues with medical backgrounds who have worked with me on this amendment. So, no, I'm going to make some progress. Given what the Speaker said. Yeah, given what the Speaker said. Mr Speaker, I now turn to new clause 14. There's a lot of people who want to speak. I now turn to new clause 14 and amendment 73. This clause imposes a duty to make regulations prohibiting advertising of services related to voluntary assisted dying. This issue was discussed at Bill Committee following an amendment tabled by the Honourable Member for West Worcestershire. It was proposed that there should be no advertising of assisted dying services. I agree, and there was consensus on the Bill Committee about this. The previous amendment had some issues around workability, so I committed to returning to it at report stage, hence the inclusion of this new clause. Amendment 73 provides that regulations under new clause 14 are once again subject to the affirmative procedure, providing parliamentary oversight. I want to thank the Honourable Member for West Worcestershire. Yes.
Mr Speaker, thank you. When it comes to the evidential base, just this week in the day's paper, Times newspaper, page 15, there's a story of a gentleman who was born in South Africa, lives in Australia, has come to London today and this week for this particular bill to give his story. His story is he was diagnosed with pancreatic cancer. For only 2 weeks to live. He lived for 3 years and 1 month, and he's still living. There's an evidential base that is growing. He said he was never afraid to die, but he does say he's afraid of the process of dying, which the Honourable Lady is the initiator of that. Would the Honourable Lady acknowledge the evidential base and the importance of this subject, and realise the evidential base against this bill is growing?
Jim Ledby.
I thank you for the intervention. I'm not sure it's quite relevant to the banning of advertising in terms of assisted dying services, which I will try and stay focused on. I'm afraid I'm going to make some progress based on the number of people that want to speak today. So I want to thank the Honourable Member for West Worcestershire and the Member for Reigate for working with me on this amendment. I'm very pleased that they are supporting it. Moving on to new clause 15 and amendment 54. These amendments, These amendments make changes to the Coroners and Justice Acts that the bill would necessitate. They insert a new clause into the Act to provide that deaths that occur in accordance with the bill will be certified by an attending practitioner and medical examiner and will not be subject to a coronial investigation. Coroners, Mr Speaker, investigate suspicious deaths. I'm afraid not. Coroners investigate suspicious or violent deaths or situations where the cause of death is unknown. Assisted deaths would not fall into these categories, and there would therefore be no need for a default coronial investigation. This ensures avoiding any unnecessary delays and distress for bereaved families. Mr Speaker, these are not unexpected deaths. They were sadly inevitably going to happen. It is the manner and timing of their death, I'm afraid, about which the patient will make a legal informed choice, having been thoroughly assessed. As Professor Anise Ishmael has said, I cannot think of any death that will be the subject of greater scrutiny in advance of the person dying than an assisted death. The process far exceeds the level of safeguarding that is in place for many of the deaths that are at present routinely reviewed by medical examiners and not referred to a coroner. Of course, Mr Speaker, anyone can report a death, including an assisted death, to the coroner or indeed to the police if they have any concerns that it was not carried out in accordance with the Act. And if any offences have been committed, they will be investigated. Section 2 of new clause 15 requires that the medical certificate of cause of death must state the death as an assisted death, but must also record the illness or disease which caused the person to be terminally ill and enable them to receive assistance under the Act. This is really important for data collection and monitoring. In jurisdictions with similar legislation, around 70% of patients have some form of cancer, and this amendment would ensure that data was collected not only in relation to how many people access assisted dying, but also the terminal illnesses which make them eligible. I now come on to new clause 20, which relates to the guidance about the operation of the Act, including with respect to devolution. Put simply, Mr Speaker, new clause 20 ensures that the right roles and responsibilities sit with the right people. It firstly puts the obligation to issue guidance with the Secretary of State, and secondly enables Welsh ministers to issue guidance on devolved matters. The Secretary of State must consult the Chief Medical Officers in order to have the benefit of their expertise, which is also really important. New clause 20 also adds provision which ensures that the Secretary of State must consult people with learning disabilities and people with protected characteristics, which includes disability, race, religion and belief. I'm going to make some progress, I'm afraid. And they must also consult providers of health and care services. This includes palliative and end-of-life care. And I'm really pleased that Hospice UK are supporting this amendment. It's very important that those voices are heard. The Secretary of State can also consult anyone else they feel to be appropriate, creating a flexible and holistic approach. Coming on to devolution. Mr Speaker, this long overdue reform would apply to England and Wales, which share a criminal justice system. Health is, of course, devolved, and I've recognised from the outset that the legislation must respect devolution, and I'm fully committed to observing the same conventions that government would if this was a government bill. I've worked with UK government officials to ensure that the right steps are taken at the right time by the right people. I've engaged with colleagues in the Welsh Government. I met with the Welsh Health Minister in Cardiff, and there have been ongoing detailed discussions between the two teams of government officials to ensure workability of the legislation in both jurisdictions in line with the devolution settlement. Amendments 92 to 94 also ensure that the devolution settlement is respected and adhered to. Mr Speaker, I want to thank the honourable members for Dwyfyn Marenid and Cheshire and Amersham, not only for their diligent work on the Bill Committee, but also for working with me on the amendments in relation to Wales, and the Welsh Government for their guidance and support. And I hope colleagues across the House can support these new clauses and amendments. I now turn to new clause 21, which makes specific provision about the use of the Welsh language. Mr Speaker, the conversations that happen at the end of a person's life are extremely personal and should be handled with the utmost sensitivity. It's very important that they are conducted in the best interest of the patient, and a big part of that is by using clear communication. And in this respect, language matters. So if a patient in Wales has Welsh as their first or preferred language, all efforts should be made to ensure they can communicate with voluntary assisted dying services in Welsh. I committed to this at Bill Committee and have made good on that commitment. Coming on to Amendments 76 and 77. As with any bill, it's important that the amending legislation to secure secures overall coherence with the statute book. As such, the clauses relating to medicines, advertising and employment protections amend or confer power to amend other legislation that currently extends to parts of the UK. This doesn't mean the provision of assisted dying, of course, but, for example, it extends the prohibition on advertising to the whole of the UK and provides the employment protections in this bill to Scotland. This is the guidance I've received from legal experts, and as such, I hope all colleagues can support these amendments. And, Mr Speaker, if the bill passes, in the same way as I've worked with the Welsh Government, if necessary, I will work with other devolved administrations to ensure devolution is respected. Mr Speaker, that concludes the explanations for the amendments tabled in my name. And I know there are many colleagues that are keen to speak on the debate today, so I'm not going to comment on all amendments in the group, but I will just make 2 comments on amendments which are not in my name, allowing other people plenty of time to speak. Amendment 42 from the member for Newcastle-under-Lyme not only tries to remove the backstop for the provision of assisted dying in England, but it also creates a number of other issues in relation to commencement. If Parliament chooses to give this choice to terminally ill people, there cannot be a clause in the bill that would prevent it being available as soon as it is safe and practicable. But this amendment would remove the 4-year backstop. It would also prevent the appointment of the Voluntary Assisted Dying Commissioner and create a potential commencement gap between England and Wales. As such, I've been strongly advised that this amendment would create serious workability issues, and I urge colleagues who want an operable bill to join me in rejecting it. To finish, Mr Speaker, I'm pleased to support Amendment 21 from the Honourable Lady for Twickenham, and I want to thank her for her engagement with the bill and this amendment, which would require the Secretary of State to prepare and publish an assessment of the availability, quality and distribution of palliative and end-of-life care as part of the first report on the implementation of the Act, mirroring the assessment already required as part of the 5-year review. Mr Speaker, whilst the bill seeks to address what in some respects is a very specific issue in terms of the failings of the current law, it has become part of a much needed broader conversation about death, dying and end-of-life care. We all have our own experiences of death, loss and grief, and it's something we don't talk about enough. I'm really pleased that this bill has led to many conversations up and down the country, which, whatever your views are, has got to be a positive thing. Mr Speaker, I've had many such conversations over recent... I've nearly finished. Mr Speaker, I've had many such conversations over recent months, including with palliative care doctors, nurses, hospice staff, GPs, Hospice UK and Marie Curie, who are supporting this amendment. And I would like to thank them all for their constructive engagement with the bill. I cannot imagine there is anyone in this place who is not truly grateful for the outstanding work done every day by the wonderful people working in palliative and end-of-life care in every one of our constituencies. Many, if not most of us, will have personal experience of the kindness and compassion they have shown to our own family and friends. But this is not an either-or conversation. Palliative and end-of-life care and assisted dying can and do work side by side to give terminally ill patients the care and choice they deserve in their final days. So in the same way that this should not be an either-or for dying people, it should also not be an either-or for us as legislators to choose between supporting assisted dying or other end-of-life choices. And that is why I'm supporting Amendment 21, to ensure that we channel our energies in this place into supporting all options available to terminally ill people, something which I have always committed to do. Thank you, Mr Speaker.
Here we go, everyone looking at me, please! Now, we're going to try something else. We're just going to turn everybody round. Okay, everybody looking at me if that's all right. Hang on, one more time.
All right, guys.
Sorry, I think. Sorry, guys. Somebody's
surprisingly strong, isn't it? I think it's
That's true. That's true. Yeah. What amazing
It's nearly time to go in.
Because something has shifted, something has changed. The public understands, medical opinion has moved, the momentum is with us, and I hope that Parliament is listening. Please echo my call when I say yes to dignity.
Yes, dignity.
Thank you.
But was delighted at that point to take over as chair of this extraordinary people-powered movement. During the time I was in the Commons, I used every opportunity to raise the case for change. We have a situation where the current law allows people to voluntarily stop eating and drinking and requires doctors to support them. We have a law which allows people to die badly, but won't allow them to die well and have the choice to die well.
Ali Reza, do you need a placard?
I'll get run over.
Placard.
I don't have a placard.
You're right. See you, man. Very nice to see you. I was even called when we got this agenda.